CJ is markedly different from the previous playable characters in the Grand Theft Auto series. While Claude and Tommy Vercetti are both depicted as completely heartless and feeling no regret for all of the people that they kill, CJ is depicted as having a considerably less violent personality, occasionally giving his targets a chance to redeem themselves. Carl was the most customizable protagonist until the release of Grand Theft Auto Online. Another interesting dynamic thing about Carl's appearance is that his quotes depend on his clothing and physical appearance. For example, he will use more slang when dressed in lower-end clothing, speak in a more refined tone when wearing high-end clothes, or even make food-related comments when he is fatter. Some mission cutscenes show Carl slightly limping his left foot. This is also notable if the player enters the slow-motion cheat twice and watches the sprint animation carefully. It is possible that CJ is a Christian. In the mission, First Date, Carl tells Catalina that he is a God-fearing peace-loving man of the people. Like Franklin Clinton, Carl can purchase several religious tattoos and a cross-chain sold at Didier Sachs. Nico Bellic is the protagonist of GTA 4. He is also mentioned by Lester Crest and Patrick McReary in GTA 5. The player can choose Nico Bellic as their parent model in GTA Online. Nico grew up in Yugoslavia, where he fought in the Yugoslav Wars. He later worked for organized crime syndicates as a hired gun in Liberty City. Ever since the wars ended, Nico's main goal in life was to find and kill one of two men, Florian Kravic or Darko Brevic, for one of them betrayed his military unit during the wars and nearly killed him. Nico appears to be visually inspired by Sasha from the 2001 movie Behind Enemy Lines, which takes place in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the war. Sasha's clothes are even available to buy in the Russian shop. Sasha's actor Vladimir Mashkov later confirmed in an interview that he was asked to play in an unnamed video game whose producers liked his performance as Sasha. Mashkov thought it was a questionable proposal and not very interesting. Only later did he learn that the game was GTA 4. In GTA 5, one can find a wanted poster for Nico on a table near a trailer in the Grand Sonora Desert. Claude is the protagonist of GTA 3, set in 2001, and a minor character in GTA San Andreas, set in 1992. He also appears in GTA Online as a parent character model. In all of his appearances, he never speaks and, as such, doesn't have any voice actor. Claude is a silent criminal with an unknown background. Originally owning a garage in San Fierro, he later loses it to Carl Johnson in a race and flees the city. Catalina and Claude, after leaving San Andreas, begin a 9-year journey to Liberty City, going through many American states committing bank robberies, including Texas and New Mexico. The two continue on their journey to Liberty City, reaching their destination in October 2001. Catalina eventually betrays him and leaves him for dead during a bank robbery, leading to his desire for revenge. Even though he never speaks, he grunts in GTA 3. It is unknown, however, who provided his grunts. In Grand Theft Auto 4, if Nico kills Playboy X and gains access to his safe house, he will gain access to Claude's clothes, which can only be equipped at said safe house. Tommy is a former member of the Forelli crime family in Liberty City, who, after being released from prison following a 15-year sentence, is sent to Vice City to oversee a major drug deal with the Vance brothers. Tommy Vercetti shows many characteristics in common with Tony Montana, a drug lord from the film Scarface. The two both end up in exile, both arrive in the city wearing Hawaiian shirts, both rise to power in Miami using great amounts of violence. The interior of the Vercetti estate is even modeled after Montana's mansion. Tommy Vercetti also bears some resemblance to Mr. Blonde from the film Reservoir Dogs. In GTA 4, there is graffiti found around the map with Tommy's name, along with the other 3D universe protagonists. It states that they are all dead. Rockstar Games later confirmed that it was a little joke. The video game driver featured Hawaiian shirt-wearing characters known as Timmy Vermicelli hidden throughout each of its 3 main maps. The Timmy Vermicelli characters wore inflatable armbands, making fun of the fact Tommy Vercetti is unable to swim and will die upon entering the water. Originally, Franklin was able to play tennis judging by sound effects found in the game files, but in the final version Franklin is the only protagonist who cannot play tennis. According to Tanya Wiggins, Franklin fooled around with her behind a burger shot when he was 13. Franklin, however, denies it and claims that nothing serious happened. It is likely that Franklin is a Christian, or at the very least has studied the Bible at some point in his life. He immediately recognized the verse that Michael sarcastically used, after pulling down the house in marriage counseling, as coming from the book of Matthew. He is also described as believing in a white man's God. Another possible reference to Franklin's religious standing is his ability to purchase a torso tattoo quoting a biblical manuscript from 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. Pre-release artwork of Franklin shows him with a praying hands tattoo in his neck, further supporting this theory. Franklin has an unfinished military bomb suit found in the game's files, suggesting that originally, in the Polito score, he would have robbed the bank lobby along with Michael and Trevor rather than the gunman in the final version. Trevor's dedication to his mother and the fact that he can wear dresses may be a reference to Norman Bates from Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 horror film Psycho. Trevor's early name was Simon. Trevor's initial backstory was that he grew up in the rural American backwoods. However, when Canadian actor Stephen Ogg was hired to voice the character, the producers decided to work Ogg's thick Canadian accent into the character. As a result, Trevor's origins were changed and the character was now purported to have grown up near the Canadian border. Trevor's Canadian origins are something of an in-joke throughout the game, as numerous characters express anti-Canadian sentiment. Trevor's personality is likely based on the character Waingro from the movie Heat. While Michael DeSanta and Franklin Clinton have the ability to kindly greet people when the player presses right on the control pad, Trevor on the opposite hand can only taunt people, leading them to either run away or fight him. The only time Trevor ever mentions his deceased brother Ryan is when talking to a man dressed as a zombie on Vinewood Boulevard, in which he comments, "You remind me of my brother Ryan." Michael was the first protagonist that came to Rockstar's mind when they began the development of GTA 5. Michael's appearance in the game may be based on Robert De Niro's character in the movie Heat, as both characters are professional bank robbers of Irish descent, dealing with a psychopath. Both have a friend in law enforcement. When walking, Michael is slightly slower than Franklin or Trevor. This might be due to him being retired and not as active as he used to be. His voice and motion capture performer Ned Luke even put on 25 pounds to replicate this. When someone talks to Michael on his right side, he shifts his body toward that person. This is because in real life, Ned Luke is deaf in his right ear. Upon returning to his house, one possible line of dialogue for Michael to shout is "Daddy's back bitches," the first line of dialogue in GTA 4. Michael's great shooting accuracy also makes him one of the most challenging opponents while playing darts. Throughout the game, Michael displays a contempt for yoga instructors. Coincidentally, his voice and motion capture performer Ned Luke is married to a yoga instructor. In Grand Theft Auto Online, the protagonist is a player-created character. The online protagonist uses a mix of animations from Michael DeSanta, Franklin Clinton, and Trevor Phillips. What animation sets are used depends on the activity the player is participating in. While in a vehicle with a radio station selected, the player's mood can be seen changing. If a radio advert was playing at the time that the player was staring at their character, the online protagonist can be seen bored, flicking dust off their clothes. If a song is playing, the player gradually starts to be happy and into the song. When a female protagonist gets a lap dance or engages a prostitute, the same animations are used as for the male protagonist, and dialogue by the stripper or prostitute retains references to male anatomy. When a player is disconnected from an online session, their character will become a normal pedestrian and will walk towards the nearest pedestrian pathway. If the AI-controlled character is approached violently without a firearm, they will either scream and run away, or fight back with their fists, but will run away when a firearm is presented. Thomas Vercetti was born in Liberty City in 1951. His father worked in a printing shop, and as a child, Tommy used to clean the rollers with him. Tommy had planned to follow in his father's footsteps, but, in his own words, led a different life. Dialogue spoken by Tommy while fighting indicates that he had a bad relationship with his mother. Tommy is mentioned by Ken Rosenberg in the Mission the Meat Business in GTA San Andreas, leading Carl Johnson to question, "Who the fuck is Tommy?" Tommy Vercetti continued to run the criminal underworld of Vice City after 1986. During that time, Tommy's relationship with Ken became increasingly strained due to Ken's cocaine addiction. Tommy Vercetti's story is similar to famous real-life mobster Joseph Iannuzzi. In the 1980s, Joseph was sent to Florida to be a representative for his mob boss Tommy Argo. Like the relationship between Tommy and Sonny in-game, the relationship between Joseph Iannuzzi and Tommy Argo became strained over a large sum of money. Tommy was the only verbal GTA protagonist to never say the word fuck. Instead, he frequently says the word prick throughout the game. Tommy Vercetti is depicted as both intelligent and temperamental. He is easily angered and quick to resort to violence. He does not hesitate to kill, though many of his victims are trying to kill Tommy, or have done something that guaranteed their deaths. Tommy prefers to perform his own work rather than delegate tasks to others. Even after he has his own gang and other subordinates working for him, he usually puts his plans in motion personally. As a child, Franklin met Tanya Wiggins and J.B. Bradshaw. The pain over his tragic past, and the influence of both Wiggins and Bradshaw, soon led Franklin down a path of crime. He began illegally selling cigarettes on the street with Bradshaw, an act that resulted in his grandfather chasing him around the entire city. In the mission Pulling Another Favor, Tanya recalls their time in high school and remembers that Franklin assaulted a teacher for an unspecified reason, resulting in his expulsion from the school. This life of crime got so serious and reckless that Franklin was eventually arrested in 2008 when he was just 20 years old. He was sent to Bolingbroke Penitentiary in Los Santos. In GTA 5 you can play tennis, but Franklin cannot actually partake in the game. Michael obviously plays, as he has a court in his backyard. Trevor is also a fan. Breaking into cars and other vehicles in GTA 5, windows get broken all the time and some cars have alarm systems. He is the only protagonist who uses lockpicks in the game. Franklin doesn't resort to brute force to break into cars.
Clear your schedule. I'm horny.
Give a like. Get a croissant. Trevor is shown to sport a number of tattoos on his body, most of which are permanent. Only one tattoo can be removed. It spells out R.I.P. Michael, 1965 to 2004, brother. In the European version of the game, you have the option to switch to Trevor in the middle of the gameplay. Sometimes, Trevor is shown to be on top of a mountain watching the scenery wearing a dress. The dress does not do a very good job of covering Trevor's private parts. And that is how you discover that Trevor Phillips prefers to go commando. We get a sense that Trevor has also had relations with animals, and even inanimate objects like the teddy bear prominently featured in the game called Mr. Raspberry Jam. The makers of GTA have revealed that while designing the three protagonists of GTA 5, they shaped their personalities to reflect the three types of individuals that studies show play GTA. Trevor was specifically based on the type of player who prefers to ignore missions in favor of driving around the city causing as much destruction as possible. Franklin has an awesome ability that allows him to flawlessly glide through traffic at high speeds to help get out of intense chases by slowing down time and getting full control of his car. Turns out that it actually came from Rockstar's Midnight Club franchise, as it was used as one of the special abilities for in-game racing. Franklin was arrested for public exposure when he was merely sagging his pants for fashion. Franklin's actual age is much of a mystery for most of the game, but he is obviously younger than Michael and Trevor. That said, the only real clue we have towards his age is the small hint that could be his license plates that read FC 1988, and it would only make sense that FC stands for Franklin Clinton and that 1988 could be his birth year. Seeing as the events of Grand Theft Auto 5 seem to be in line with present day, then that would make Franklin around 25 years old since the game initially came out in 2013. Even in his young age, he seems to handle himself in Los Santos just as well as Trevor and Michael despite their experience and past ties to crime.
You've never had it so good.